Chapter 1. Making the Decision. A look in on making the decision. I will never forget the night that I made the decision to homeschool my children. My oldest, who is now 9 years old, was 3. He was playing in the living room, and my husband and I were watching something on television. Suddenly, I burst into tears. My husband, quite appropriately, looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. We were not watching a sad show, and there was really no reason for me to be crying. I wasn't pregnant, and our youngest at the time was 9 months old, and I was past the postpartum period. So all of the reasons that had caused me to cry unexpectedly and uncontrollably in the past were no longer viable. After recovering from his shock, he asked me what had me so upset, and I told him that I was sad because our son was going to go to school. Now, much to my husband's credit, he didn't laugh at me when he pointed out that we were still 2 years away from our son starting kindergarten. He heard my concern, and we started the discussion as to why I was so upset. My husband asked me some questions to help me discover what bothered me so much. Was I sad that my son would grow up? Was I worried that he'd be hurt? Or was it something else? After much discussion, I was able to inform my husband that I was jealous that other teachers would be able to have the joy of watching our son learn. I told him that I loved being a teacher, but I also loved being home with our children, and I longed to have the joy of educating our children like I had educated children in the classroom. I said that I realized that there were qualified teachers out there, but that I was also a qualified teacher and wondered why we'd give up time with our children to have other adults do what I was perfectly capable of doing. And then he asked the question that started it all. Why don't we homeschool? The minute he asked it, I knew it was right for our family. Up until that point, I had never really thought about homeschooling as being a realistic option for our family. Both my husband and I had worked as classroom teachers, and my husband was working as a substitute teacher, and I had just assumed that public school was what we would do. But the minute my husband suggested it, I knew it was what we would do. I jumped into the homeschooling idea with both feet. I bought books, researched online, and created my plan of action for my family. I discovered what I liked about the idea of homeschooling and what I didn't like about the idea of homeschooling. I took the time to talk with other homeschooling parents and with public school teachers, and I made note of areas that I should pay attention to. Once I made the decision, I stuck with it. I realized that I could change my mind later if I wanted to, but that if I was going to homeschool, I was going to do it with my full effort and attention. I've never once looked back. Step-by-step guide to making the decision. Number 1. Determine why you are considering homeschooling. Are you looking to homeschool because you want more time with family? Are you afraid of the change that will come when your children start school? Are you unhappy with the public school system? Are you surrounded by homeschoolers and feel bad sending your child to public school? Consider the reasons that you are homeschooling to make sure that everyone will benefit from your decision, and that it is done in the best interest of your family and not for anyone else. Number 2. Assess your relationship with your children. Do you have the ability to be firm and enforce the importance of education? Do you enjoy being at home with your children? Will you be fulfilled by being a full-time teacher? Number 3. Assess your abilities. Do you feel confident in your ability to educate your children? Do you have experience in a teaching capacity? Do you value education and learning? Do you have the patience to help your child struggle through lessons? Number 4. Discuss the decision with your spouse. Does your spouse agree with your decision to homeschool? Will your spouse support you in your endeavor? Is your spouse prepared to help enforce the idea that education is important and that there is a time to sit down and focus on learning? Number 5. Discuss the decision with your children. I firmly believe that parents know what is best for their children and that parents should have the final say in decisions made for their family. However, this decision should be discussed with your children. Are they okay with the idea? Will they enjoy having more time at home? Are they willing to sacrifice being around their peers? What are they afraid of with homeschooling? What are they excited about? What to do? Making the decision to homeschool was very easy for me. It may be easy for you as well, or it may be more difficult. Here are just a few things to remember. Realize that discussing the option doesn't lock you into anything. Be honest with yourself in regards to your strengths and weaknesses. Make sure that the choice you are making will benefit your child. Keep the discussion open. Follow your gut. What not to do. Do not make the decision because you are feeling pressured to do so. Do not let others who are not a part of your core family make the decision for you. Input is fine, but they do not live your life, and they do not know what is best for you. Do not worry about what others will think. A large portion of my extended family has not supported my decision to homeschool. I have heard every insult imaginable, but I know that the decision is best for my family, and my children are thriving. Do not close your mind to other schooling options. If there comes a time when another teacher can offer more to my children, I will step aside. Do not feel that your decision is permanent. If you try homeschooling and it doesn't work for your family, then change the schooling arrangement.